Hi, I'm Diane Wesley Smith. This is San Francisco Black News. Thank you for joining us. We are honoring the Black Panthers, strong part of Black history in America. In San Francisco and Oakland, the San Francisco Bay Area, there have been so many firsts. We're so rich here in Black history that has affected the entire nation. So we're going to honor the Black Panthers, and in honoring them, we're going to talk about why they failed as an organization, but their cause is still alive and well. That's where the free food breakfast came from. So many things, and we'll get started with it. So, in the beginning, the symbol, the Black Panther, is there for you to read. The Black Panther is an animal that, when pressured, it moves back until it is cornered, then comes out fighting for life or death. What that means is just what it says, and that's why the Black Panthers adopted the name Black Panther. Black people were pushed into a corner, and there was nothing to do but to fight or die. Okay, beginnings. Historians link the modern civil rights movement with World War II. As Americans went off to war against both Japan and the Nazi government, factories geared themselves for war. Black Americans welcomed the war industry because they were disproportionately represented among the underpaid and unemployed. However, when they sought work, where employers literally begged for laborers, they were primarily offered low-paid service jobs. Has much changed? Government financed training programs refused Black Americans despite President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's order prohibiting discrimination in war industries. Many Black Americans believe that one could not lay claim to the rights of a full-fledged citizenship in America without participating in the defense of the country. For them, the war was not simply a fight to wear a military uniform, earn money, but a struggle for equality in the United States. When Black American soldiers returned from fighting the war for democracy, they were more willing to attack lynchings, disenfranchisement, white primaries, Jim Crow laws, and separate but unequal education. Nonetheless, most of those battles waged by Black Americans to remove the vestiges of slavery were short-lived. Unconnected demonstrations lacking an overreaching theme. Got to have sustainability this time. It must last. Not until the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott in 1955 to 1956 did an entire Black American community mobilize against Jim Crow segregation. Miss Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white man and was arrested. Leaders of the Black community, led by the Women's Political Council, WPC, and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, formed the Montgomery Improvement Association and elected the young Dr. Martin Luther King as president. The WPC, 300 professional Black American women, had documented abuses by white bus drivers and run off 50,000 notices of citizens urging them not to ride the buses. For over a year, men and women and children walked and carpooled until the buses were integrated. The gains we make this time must survive us, people. The bus boycott in Montgomery was not the first of its kind. Black Americans in Baton Rouge, Tallahassee, Birmingham had earlier protested against humiliating, segregating bus seating. However, nothing compared to Montgomery. The United Front, Black Americans, captured the attention of the national media. Their protest was dignified and the leaders were charismatic. The year 1960 marked the beginning of the decade that ignited the second wave of the struggle. On February 1st, 4 Black students from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical College in Greensboro, the Greensboro 4, sat down at a Woolworth store lunch counter reserved for whites only. The waitress refused to serve them, and they remained seated and they remained seated for 45 minutes until the store closed. Their sit-in was a spontaneous gesture that culminated in the organized protest against Jim Crow. The following day, 30 students joined their protest, and by the end of the week, 200 were involved, including some white students. By the end of February, sit-ins spanned 7 southern states and included included close to 50,000 young activists. Continuing the tradition of nonviolent protest, the students were orderly. They learned techniques to protect themselves from physical attacks by whites without retaliating, and they prayed. Unlike boycotts, sit-ins reeked of civil disobedience. The students were breaking the law and provoking arrest and jail time. Ella Baker, the Southern Christian Leadership Council's major female voice, and we refer to it as the SCLC, inspired 140 students in attendance to form their own organization, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, we refer to as SNCC. Baker stated none of the great leadership had anything to do with the sit-in starting. Let me just interject. This is why it's important, no matter what the leadership is, we always need more. The struggle is alive and well. I don't care if we have black people as president, black people as mayors. You see the struggle our mayor has. Black in whatever position blacks are in, the struggle is alive, it's real, and it continues. So no matter what leadership we have, there's always room for more leaders. Okay? They spread to a large extent because of the young enthusiasm and the need for action. The Congress on Racial Equality, CORE, formed during World War II, entered the student fray by daring to disintegrate interstate bus travel with the Freedom Rides in 1961. And on May 4th, James Farmer led volunteers from Washington, D.C. into the Deep South via Greyhound buses. I remember this. It was so scary. And with the goal of receiving service at segregated terminal facilities. If arrested for civil disobedience, the activists refused bail in hopes of placing pressure on the jail system. Freedom Rides pushed the nonviolent direct action principle to another level. Expert organization and long-term commitment. Let me say that again. Excellent organization and long-term commitment on behalf of activists were imperative for riders to succeed. Excellent organization and long-term commitment is imperative if black people are to succeed in San Francisco. Freedom Rides brought the entire nation into the struggle. Freedom Rides led to the desegregation of bus terminals, but only after vehement attacks on the participants by the Ku Klux Klan and white citizens. Not all of them, but the bad ones. Many Americans believe that the movement was over after President Lyndon Johnson on August 6, 1965, signed the Voting Rights Act, which guaranteed to all races regardless of color the right to vote. What else could black Americans want? White America was shocked when Watts, predominantly black District of Los Angeles, erupted in rebellion from August the 11th to 16th, 5 days later. Less than a year later, SNCC called for Black Power. On June 1966, James Meredith, the first African American to attend the University of Mississippi, was shot on the second day of his one-man march against fear through Mississippi. SNCC activist Stokely Carmichael led the chant for Black Power in the march. The slogan had multiple meanings. Carmichael argued that Black Power was a call for black people in this country to unite, to recognize their heritage, and to build a sense of community. It is a call to reject the racist institutions and values of this society. Black Power transformed the civil rights struggle to its next stage. The message was not new. In fact, Malcolm X was the most articulate voice of the black empowerment of the 1960s. Malcolm X was criticized for nonviolent direct action, civil rights strategy. How could individuals not defend themselves in the midst of a violent onslaught? Malcolm's assassination on February 21st, 1965, devastated black Americans. His legacy propelled two young men, Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, to carry on his ideas. Oakland, California. We know where Oakland is, but it's San Francisco Bay Area. In case you're not from San Francisco, it's just over the bridge from San Francisco. The vast majority of the black Americans in Oakland migrated to the city from the South to work in the defense industries. Between 1940 and 1960, the total population of blacks in the Bay Area almost doubled. The 1940 census reported 19,759 black Americans, 2/3 in Alameda County, specifically Oakland. By 1960, the number expanded to 238,754. As with most cities, residential segregation was alive and well in the Bay Area. Sadly to say, racial segregation, racism is still alive and well in the Bay Area. Unemployment rates were high. Now we're talking about 1960. We're in 2021. Unemployment rates are still high, but black Americans were 4 times higher than whites. Our unemployment rate has categorically been 4 times higher than whites. Black Americans with education to that equal of a white Oaklander stood more than 1.5 greater chance of being unemployed. These conditions made the experience, and let me stop. You see, right in San Francisco, all the black men that are on the street, that have nowhere to go, there are no resources, they're suffering from mental illness, and this is on purpose. It cannot be an accident to see so many black men thrown away. Back to the reading. Back to Black Panther. It's all tied in. It's all relative. These conditions made the experiences of black Americans and white Americans vastly different in Oakland. It was hard for whites to imagine the level of police brutality that blacks complained about. They were not alone. A 1966 Gallup poll found 35% of black men believed there was police brutality in their community. Only 70% of whites agreed. We all know better now. In 1966, a U.S. Senate survey in Watts found that 60% of African black youth believed that there was police brutality. It's well documented now. Half said they had actually witnessed and experienced it firsthand. This is 60% of young black males and young blacks in Los Angeles have experienced or had witnessed in 1966 police brutality. The Oakland Police Department was an extension of the racist The Oakland Police Department was an extension of the racist South Africans. The Oakland Police Department was actually an extension of the racist Southern American whites that blacks had fled. Many officers were recruited from Mississippi. I'm going to tell you, I never wanted to go to Mississippi. And I had a young man in my house. We were having I had some work being done. And the young man is from Mississippi. And I mentioned to him, I never wanted to go to Mississippi because you have to step off the sidewalk. You have to call white people Mr. while they call you by your first name. Now, I'll be 69 this year. The very thought of having to call a person, anyone younger than me, Mr. Or Miss, because of their skin color is totally unacceptable. Okay, the Black Panther Party. We talked about those were the origins, the sentiments, if you will, of what started the movement for Black Power. Talked about the need, the level of racism, our inability to find employment. Let me read this poem to you. baby of the revolution. Beautiful black baby, wrapped in innocent love. Beautiful black baby, knows not of an unjust world. Beautiful black baby, your daddy has gone to war. Beautiful black baby, he's fighting, and here we are. Beautiful black baby, daddy loves us so. Beautiful black baby, he had no notice but to go. Beautiful black baby, the news pigs kill your dad. Beautiful black baby, freedom and peace we never had. How many beautiful black babies? This is still true. Still true. Had no choice but to organize the Black Panthers. Many black Americans in the South moved to the North. We talked about that. And Huey P. Newton's family also migrated to the North from Monroe, Louisiana. He wrote, at the time and early, I associated reading with being an adult. When I became an adult, I would automatically be able to read too. Not until Huey's high school year did he learn to read. He was too embarrassed to ask for help, but he taught himself by using his brother's poetry books. Huey writes that during those long years at Oakland public schools, he did not have one teacher who taught me any, quote, during those long years in Oakland public schools, I did not have one teacher who taught me anything relevant to my own life experience. In 1959, by 1959, Huey not only earned his, they said, FARS degree, high school diploma from Oakland Tech, but he also had a reputation as a fighter. One day, while expressing his frustrations about the mass oppression inflicted on black Americans, his fraternity brothers responded and said, you sound like a man named Donald Warden. Look up the name Donald Warden. Donald Warden was bad in my youth. I had the pleasure of meeting him. Those of us, this energy that I run, it is because I grew up in these times. And I see what's happening to my people, and it's not acceptable. It's the same thing. So we have the same passion, and we have a commitment to the lifetime struggle for the freedom from oppression of black people. One day, as I mentioned, Donald Warden, he was a graduate of Bolt Hall Law School at UC Berkeley. He was the head of the Afro-American Association. Warden rented a storefront across the street from Merritt College and initiated self-help programs, including Economic Night, where solutions and strategies for empowerment were discussed. Newton started attending the association meetings, which were also reading groups filled with college students. They read W.E. Du Bois' The Soul of Black Folks, Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man, and James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. Huey enjoyed reading about black history and culture. Bobby Seale witnessed Huey's philosophical attack and was impressed by his ability to explain complex issues. Seale, 6 years Newton's senior, had attended Merritt College part-time while he worked with the Gemini Missile Project. Beginning in late 1958, Seale initially majored in engineering, but was soon engaged in the study of African history and culture. Wharton was excited to have their participation, but Huey felt he wanted the brothers on the block to serve as his bodyguards. You know what the brothers on the block mean? Do you know what a do-rag is? Do you know what you dig means? Huey was amazed, and he really enjoyed the learning process in college. He slowly transformed intellectually from a nationalist to a socialist. He studied the Marxists and attended Progressive Labor Party. This is a picture of Huey meeting with after he read 4 volumes of after reading 4 volumes by Chinese Communist leader Mao Zedong, his conversion was complete. And that's a picture of Huey with Chinese leader Mao Zedong. And at this point, let me just say, there is a picture that didn't come out well, but right now in San Francisco, it's a picture showing lieutenant of the Black Panther Party, Samuel P. Smith, and pictures of yellow brothers and brown brothers. And I say to you, from my personal experience, I saw it. Blacks and Chinese did not have a problem. Blacks and browns did not have a problem. And most blacks and whites in San Francisco didn't have a problem. It was the man that presented the problem. So it is very heartbreaking for us OGs who know history. See, the problem is a lot of y'all don't know history. That's why this nonsense is going on, because blacks and Chinese should be on the same team. But when you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. We've had money over and over sent to the black community. The Black Panthers showed us the way. But without a commitment, not what's in it for me. The radio station WIIFM is lethal. WIIFM is what's in it for me. It's got to be bigger than that. And we will not succeed as a people to attain unity so that we can help each other until we get out two things. Crabs in a barrel. Well, a couple things. But begrudging the success of our brothers and sisters, we have to lift each other up. That's what the Black Panthers were about. They were about organizing, taking care of themselves. San Francisco black community, I invite you to organize with us. You hear us moving around. You hear a lot of us that are working on coming together and have come together. From the Human Rights Commission to the mayor to the president of the Board of Supervisors, Shaman Walton. It's a great time. A lot of possibilities. Okay, let me move on. After Huey graduated from Merritt College, he enrolled in San Francisco Law School, not to become a lawyer, but to stop police violence and to become a better burglar. He feared that all of these petty crimes would eventually catch up with him. He intensely studied the penal code, focusing on the ambiguous areas. When the riots exploded, it revealed that black leaders rejected Dr. Martin Luther King's nonviolent posture. Oakland police began carrying shotguns to further their intimidation. The times were changing, and Newton and Seal were in the right time. Newton and Seal and Gerald Horton Weasel heard about the patrol alerts in Watts. Okay, so the patrol alerts in Watts were people, black men and women, predominantly men, patrolling the neighborhood, their community, to keep people safe. So they developed, and starting the Black Panther Party, let me tell you what the Black Panthers believe. 1, we believe that all black people will not be free until we are able to determine our destiny. 2, we believe that the federal government is responsible and obligated to give every man employment or a guaranteed income. We believe that if the white American businessmen will not give us full employment, that means the production should be taken from the businessmen and placed in the community so that the people in the community can organize and employ all of its people and give a high standard of living. A high standard of living. That's all we want. We still need that, put it that way. Okay, and I'm going to skip down number 7. We believe that we can end police brutality in our black community by organizing black self-defense groups that are dedicated to defending our black community from racist police oppression and brutality. The Second Amendment of the Constitution gives us the right to bear arms. We therefore believe that all black people should arm themselves for self-defense. 10. At the rate of the way they're killing I'm not going to comment. But no, I'm a black woman. I don't have to tell you that. I'm a grandmother. I'm auntie. And protect yourself. Don't protect yourself. Protect your home. What that means, you know what that means. 10, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall be most likely to affect their safety and happiness. The Panthers patrolled Oakland, Richmond, and Berkeley, and San Francisco. Huey's adult friend David Hillard wrote that after his first Panther patrol, his mind and heart had been captured. I don't have time in this episode to talk about all the great things that we honored that the Black Panthers did, but let me say there was a provocateur. Our communities, the provocateurs, if I was at another time, I would have said we need to take them and string them up, hang them. But I'm not saying that. Provocateurs infiltrate and they come in to just cause problems, to disorganize and go report back. But they are anti-black. They may have a black complexion, but the mind is gone. Okay, this is a 10-point program that the Black Panthers had, and we're going to wrap it up. The 10-point, let me show you. They murdered, actor Marlon Brando. Actor Marlon Brando attended the funeral of Bobby Hutton. This young man was a very eloquent speaker and organizer, and there's a movie on right now, The Black Messiah, Judas and the Black Messiah, and that's Bobby Hutton. He was so eloquent. He was one of our treasures. So they had to go into his house. The police went into his house and murdered him. You can read it for yourself. Okay, the Black Panthers 10-point program. Number 1, we want freedom. We want power to determine our destiny. We want full employment for our people. We want the end to the robbery by the white man of our black community. We want decent housing fit for shelter for human beings. We want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches our true history and our role in this present-day society. 6, we want all black men to be exempt from military service. 7, we want an immediate end to the police brutality and murder of black people. 8, we want freedom for all black men in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails. We certainly want them, this is what the Black Panthers said. 9, we want all black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group or people from the black community, as defined by the Constitution of the United States. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace. If we had those things, if we did not have provocateurs, had not been undermined, you would not see black men thrown away. You would not see the high rate of crime. You would not see these black men, young black men with mental illnesses getting just tore up. Just 2 days ago, I want to share with you, going back to how in San Francisco we all worked together. We all partied together. Every Wednesday we went to the rickshaw on Grant Street. And I mean, we worked together. We let everyone live in peace and harmony. But this lady I just finished going for a walk, and this older Asian lady was getting out the cab. A mentally ill man walked up to her, and he was, whoop. I could feel it. She could barely get out. She was scared to death. And this man is standing there waiting for her. So I told her, I said, go ahead, go to your house. I'm going to watch you. I'll watch you. That was such a pleasure. But we can't have this. We cannot have our elders of any color. We can't have it. That's not black. That's some ish. So, all power to the people. The Black Panthers did not condone racism. They fought racism. We fight racism today. Don't buy into it. Together we are strong. We need all colors. So some people say, well, the blacks need to organize first. No, we need to do it all together. It's going to take whatever it takes. So thank you for joining us. Happy Black History. It's 365, 24/7. Black History. I'm Diane Wesley Smith. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for honoring Black history. Bye-bye now.